In my last video, many comments suggested that lowering your frame rate will help in mitigating Lament's aerial tracking issue. So I spent a couple hours in last wish at Kalli swinging my Lament. You probably aren't interested to see all of the combos I did and the results I obtained. So here's the TLDR. Low FPS will help with the tracking issue. 60 is the sweet spot. I have a little more to share though, so stay with me if you're interested. Although lower FPS will help with the tracking issue with the Lament in my testing at Kalli, I can only really notice the Lament starts to land consistent aerial combos at 60 FPS and improves more at 30 FPS, which 30 FPS probably won't be preferred by literally anyone. 60 FPS is rather consistent. There are times where I have missed my heavy attack, but the majority of combos have landed. And to give a little more context, I try to keep every task consistent by only attacking when Kalli is performing the wipe animation because the combo won't be interrupted by her knockback attacks. Guarding before going to the Lament combo, jump and hit the middle of Kalli's body. Well, why did I bring this up? If you hit the lower or upper part of Kalli's body, the Lament will miss more than if you were to hit the middle part of her body when the FPS is kept at 60. That may not be entirely Lament's issue, but rather the sword slowly loses its tracking. And it's much more straightforward to understand by testing on a static enemy rather than going through every single possible situation with the Lament and see how much a difference that makes. I also wanted to talk about high FPS, mainly when I capped it at 144 and without capping FPS. When I didn't cap my FPS, the heavy attack will sometimes miss. That may sound good, but when the heavy attack doesn't miss, the sword will either push the boss away like this, sending it across the map sometimes, or launch me away like this. If the momentum is strong enough, it would have killed me. When I kept the FPS at 144, the same thing happens, with maybe a small difference. Sometimes when the heavy attack lands and everything seems fine, I will just be launched out of nowhere. In the situations where I can land the heavy attack without launching me or the boss away, I'll get pushed back slightly when performing the light attacks. This seems like a good way to counter the crazy nonsense, but it's completely RNG dependent. Out of the 50 plus full light 1 heavy combos I did, that only happened 2 to 3 times. It's probably pretty safe to say that if you cap your FPS at 60, the aerial combo will be much more consistent, but I still wanted to take it into actual gameplay situations because there'll be a lot more that can happen. I tried in standing on different levels to the enemy and used the aerial combo. That did cause me to miss the heavy attack sometimes, but I can still manage to land more heavy attacks than miss the heavy. I also tried on moving enemies like Unstunned Unstoppable Champion. Landing the heavy attacks happens much more often than missing the heavy attack. And I also tried In Nightfall run, only using aerial combos. It worked out pretty nicely, almost all heavy attacks have landed. I can't speak for everyone, there may be some small differences, but generally speaking, capping your frame rate will help out a lot. Is it a trade-off that I will make? Perhaps. The difference between 60 and 144 or higher FPS is very noticeable, but having the ability to land consistent aerial combos feels really nice.